Tonight is not asking you to do more. It is asking you to stop. And that alone tells you how powerful this moment truly is. The full snow moon portal is open now, and unlike other full moons that push you outward into action, release, or emotional intensity, this one moves in the opposite direction. It pulls your energy inward, quietly, firmly, without negotiation. And if you've been feeling unusually tired, emotionally flat, strangely detached, or resistant to noise today, it's not because something is wrong with you. It's because your system is responding correctly to the shift that has just arrived. This snow moon doesn't arrive with chaos. It arrives with gravity. It slows things down so you can finally feel what you've been carrying without realizing it. And for many people, this slowdown feels uncomfortable at first, because the world has trained you to equate stillness with stagnation, rest with falling behind, and quiet with nothing happening. But spiritually, this is one of the most active moments of the entire lunar cycle. Because when everything stops pushing, your truth finally has space to rise. This full snow moon opens a portal of integration, not expansion. It's not here to give you more ideas, more desires, more plans, or more emotional waves. It's here to gather everything that's already been happening beneath the surface and bring it into coherence. And coherence doesn't happen through effort. It happens through rest. That's why the first message of this portal is so simple, yet so difficult for many people to accept. Rest now. Not later, not after you finish one more task, not after you respond to one more message, not after you figure everything out. Now. Because this moment is not about fixing your life. It's about stopping the internal fragmentation that's been quietly draining you. The snow moon has a way of exposing exhaustion that's been masked as productivity. It reveals where you've been operating on momentum instead of intention, where you've been reacting instead of choosing, where you've been pushing simply because stopping felt too unfamiliar. And under this moon, pushing doesn't bring clarity, it creates distortion. If you feel the urge to suddenly act, to make a big decision, to fix something, to reach out, to explain yourself, or to chase a sense of certainty tonight, pause. That urge is not intuition. It's resistance to stillness. This portal is testing discernment, not bravery. Some signals appearing now are real. Others are distractions disguised as opportunity. And the way you tell the difference isn't by how exciting they feel. It's by how your body responds. True alignment under this snow moon feels calm, grounded, and patient. False urgency feels anxious, rushed, and demanding. Anything that pressures you tonight is not meant to guide you. What's meant for you under this moon waits. It doesn't shout. It doesn't compete. It doesn't require you to exhaust yourself to reach it. It meets you when your nervous system is quiet enough to recognize it. That's why intentional withdrawal is so important right now. Not isolation, not disappearing from life, but gently reducing the noise. Fewer conversations, less stimulation, fewer explanations, less proving, less reacting. Because every time you choose silence over urgency, you align more deeply with what this portal is activating within you. This snow moon marks an interruption in unconscious momentum. For a long time, many people have been moving through life like sleepwalkers, doing what's expected, responding automatically, thinking thoughts they never chose, carrying emotional patterns that don't actually belong to them. And what wakes a sleepwalker isn't effort. It's stillness. This is not the kind of awakening that comes with fireworks and dramatic realizations. It's quieter than that. It begins with a sentence you don't say out loud but feel deeply. I can't keep moving like this. And the moment that sentence forms, everything begins to rearrange itself. You start noticing how much energy you've been spending just to stay functional. You realize how often you've overridden your own needs to meet expectations that were never aligned with you in the first place. You become aware of how loud the world has been, and how little space you've had to hear yourself think. This full snow moon doesn't ask you to feel inspired. It doesn't demand positivity. It doesn't require high vibration performance. In fact, trying to force yourself into a state of spiritual enthusiasm tonight will only block the very clarity this portal is offering. This moon honors honesty above all else.
If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe for daily cosmic insights, astrology updates, and spiritual guidance, because the universe always has a message for you.
If you feel quiet, neutral, uncertain, or emotionally blank, that's not a failure. That's integration. Your system is recalibrating, and recalibration often feels like nothing before it feels like alignment. There's a deep misconception in spiritual spaces that every full moon should feel intense, emotional, or euphoric. But this snow moon is different. It's reflective, grounded, mature. It doesn't amplify emotion, it refines awareness. And that's why rest is not optional right now. It's necessary. Because when you ignore a spiritual pause, life doesn't let you outrun it. It simply delivers the lesson later in a louder, more disruptive way. This moon is offering you a gentle hand on your shoulder before momentum becomes burnout. February begins differently this year. Instead of launching forward with force, it opens with a slowdown. Not because something is wrong, but because something important is preparing to move. This snow moon is the buffer, the cushion, the integration point that prevents the coming momentum from overwhelming you. If you take this rest now, February will feel guided. If you ignore it, February will feel heavy. This is a course correction happening quietly, behind the scenes. Not dramatic, not disruptive, just enough to straighten your path before small misalignments become major obstacles. And over the next 48 hours, this becomes especially important. Because after the stillness settles in, many people will feel restless, irritable, impatient, pulled toward distraction, the urge to scroll, to talk, to plan, to fix, to stay busy just to avoid feeling the quiet. That urge is not intuition. It's the nervous system resisting peace. When you've been in constant motion for too long, silence feels threatening. The mind tries to fill it with activity to regain control. But every time you give in to meaningless stimulation during this window, you delay the clarity that's trying to land. These next 2 days are not about productivity. They're about preservation. This is where your energy reorders itself without effort, where clarity forms without force, where direction emerges not from thinking harder, but from listening deeper. The world right now is louder than it has ever been. Everyone is rushing, reacting, proving, performing, and most people don't realize how much of that noise they've absorbed as their own. The snow moon reveals this by contrast, by showing you how peaceful it feels to step out of urgency. Rest, real rest, is revolutionary now. It's not sleep alone. It's refusing to engage with what isn't yours. It's choosing stillness when everything tries to pull you into reaction. It's reclaiming sovereignty over your energy. And this full snow moon rewards that choice. The people who slow down now will see clearly later. The people who pause now will move with precision later. The people who rest now will recognize opportunities others are too distracted to notice. Because spiritual momentum is built in waves. Just like the body strengthens during recovery, your intuition strengthens during stillness. The insights you've been gathering, the shifts you've been sensing, the changes you've been integrating haven't had space to anchor. This is that space. You don't grow during effort. You grow during rest. And when this portal closes, you may not remember the exact phase of the moon, but you will remember the moment you stopped fighting yourself. You'll notice you're no longer pulled by every distraction. You'll feel more selective, more grounded, more honest with your energy. The shift won't feel dramatic. It will feel natural. And that's how you know it worked. You don't need to chase awakening tonight. You don't need to force clarity. You don't need to become anything other than what you already are in this moment. If you honored the stillness, if you allowed yourself to rest without guilt, then the portal has already done its work. The moonlight will fade, the night will pass, but the recalibration will remain. And as February unfolds, you'll move differently. Not faster, not slower, but aligned. If this resonated with you, even quietly, then this message found you at exactly the right time. Move gently tonight. Protect your energy. Let the rest finish what the snow moon has already begun. As the night deepens under this full snow moon, something subtle begins to happen that most people won't immediately recognize. The world doesn't change, but your relationship to it does. The urgency that once felt unavoidable starts to feel optional. The noise that once demanded your attention loses its grip. And in that quiet shift, you begin to notice something important. You don't actually need to chase clarity. Clarity arrives when the chasing stops. This is where many people misunderstand spiritual awakening. They think it's about becoming more energetic, more motivated, more inspired. But true awakening often begins with the opposite sensation: a soft emptiness, a pause where nothing is pushing you forward. And that space can feel unsettling if you're used to measuring your worth by movement. But this snow moon is teaching a different language, one your nervous system understands better than your mind. Right now, your energy is being reorganized, not elevated, not expanded, reordered. And reordering always feels slower than growth because it requires honesty. It requires you to admit where you've been operating on habit instead of alignment, where you've been saying yes automatically, where you've been carrying emotional weight that isn't even yours anymore. Under this moon, you may start feeling less interested in conversations that once held your attention, less invested in explaining yourself, less willing to perform versions of yourself that no longer feel authentic. This isn't detachment, it's refinement. Your energy is becoming selective because it's learning discernment. And that's why rest right now feels different than normal rest. This isn't collapse. This isn't escape. This is conscious withdrawal so your inner compass can reset. The snow moon is quieting the external signals so the internal ones can finally be heard without interference. You may notice memories surfacing without emotional charge, old patterns revealing themselves without drama, truths appearing without judgment. This is not regression. This is resolution. When something no longer needs to be fought, it can finally dissolve. There's a reason this moon arrives at the threshold of February. The months ahead carry faster energy, quicker decisions, sharper turns. And without this pause, many people would enter that momentum already depleted. This snow moon acts as a gatekeeper. It asks one question before letting you pass. Are you moving because you're aligned or because you're afraid to stop? And the answer doesn't come from thinking. It comes from stillness. As this full snow moon continues its work, another layer begins to surface, one that challenges how you define strength. The world has taught you that strength looks like endurance, resilience, and pushing through discomfort. But spiritually, strength looks very different right now. It looks like restraint. It looks like listening. It looks like choosing not to react. This is where many people feel a strange tension. On one hand, there's relief in slowing down. On the other, there's guilt. A voice that says you should be doing more, responding faster, proving something. That voice isn't intuition. It's conditioning. And the snow moon exposes it by refusing to cooperate with it. If you try to override this pause, things feel heavier. If you honor it, things feel simpler. That's the test. During this phase, you may feel less emotionally reactive, but more internally aware. Less expressive, but more perceptive. This doesn't mean you're disconnecting from life. It means you're reconnecting with yourself. The difference is subtle, but profound. This is also why forced positivity feels exhausting right now. The snow moon does not reward spiritual performance. It rewards authenticity. Pretending to be okay when you're tired blocks the very healing that's available. Admitting you need rest opens the door. You don't need to label what you're feeling. You don't need to analyze it. You don't need to fix it. The portal doesn't require understanding, only allowance. The moment you stop demanding clarity, clarity starts forming on its own. And something else happens in this quiet. Your tolerance for misalignment drops. You begin to sense when something costs too much energy for what it gives back. You notice when a situation drains you instead of nourishes you. You become aware of how often you've been operating from obligation rather than truth. This awareness doesn't arrive loudly. It settles in gently, like snow, slowly covering what no longer serves you until it disappears without conflict. That's the elegance of this moon. It doesn't rip things away. It lets them fall away naturally once you stop feeding them. As the full snow moon begins to fade, its most important work is already complete. Not because something dramatic happened, but because something subtle shifted inside you. You're no longer gripping life the same way. You're no longer bracing yourself against the next demand. There's a quiet trust returning, not in outcomes, but in timing. This is the kind of transformation people rarely talk about because it doesn't look impressive from the outside. But internally, it changes everything. You start moving with less resistance. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of default. And that changes the trajectory of your path more than any forced breakthrough ever could. When the portal closes, you won't feel like someone new. You'll feel like yourself again, without the extra noise, without the constant urgency to become something else. And that's the real gift of this snow moon. It doesn't give you answers. It restores your ability to recognize them.